Hello, today we are going to have a conversation about episode 3 of the Naomi Osaka Netflix documentary. And I might have a little bit of a different take on it because I'm Dr. Alicia Granholm, leadership coach and consultant, helping you thrive in your leadership and life. If you missed my recaps on episodes 1 and 2, I'll drop the link in the description below so you can check that out right after this. So I want to share with you the 5 parts of episode 3 that really stood out to me, and then I'll share my thoughts on the episode and the documentary series as a whole. Okay, so quote number 1, Naomi says, I feel like I always had this pressure to maintain like this squeaky image and not get into any controversy. And as long as I do that, everything's chill. It's a bit weird because there's just this buildup of things I want to say, but I'm just scared. I'm supposed to be like a silent good person or whatever, and just maintain the image. I love how honest Naomi is about how she's felt about how she should or shouldn't do or say certain things up to this point because of an image that she has felt like she's supposed to portray and project. And I think a lot of us can relate to this. I know that I can, right? Depending on our culture, our families, our upbringings, there can be this sense of pressure about an image that we're supposed to portray out into the world and kind of puts barriers or limits, or it feels like it puts barriers or limits around what we can say or what we can do or what we shouldn't say or what we shouldn't do. I think a lot of us have this sense about not portraying this controversial image and about not rocking the boat. And yet feeling like there are things that we do want to say or do want to do, but we're not really sure what the impact of doing or saying those things might have. We play these tapes in our heads of, well, if I do this or I say this, such and such might happen. So we hold ourselves back and we hesitate and we don't say anything or do anything. Hearing her give voice to this tension that a lot of us live in really reminds me that we should also ask ourselves, what happens if we don't say something or do something? What's the price that we pay if nothing changes, if we do nothing? And while personally, one of us can't change everything that's wrong with the world by saying or doing one thing, but to one person, we can make a difference. So, what's the price we pay if we continue to try and maintain this squeaky clean image that's non-controversial? And then quote number 2, Naomi says, I've been always following people and sort of following blueprints of people. And now I feel like I didn't really find or see a lane or a path that I liked, and I was at a standstill. And then I found that you have to make your own path. So if you've always felt like you fit in, then maybe this quote didn't resonate with you, but I completely get what Naomi is talking about because I have never felt like I fit in. I never felt like there was this path or lane that other people had walked down that totally resonated with me and felt like something that I would be comfortable walking down and living my life, on this certain path or lane that other people were walking down. So I love that she says, so then I found that you have to make your own path, because I've really felt that to be completely true for my life. What about you? Do you feel like there has been a certain path or lane that you comfortably have been able to walk down, or that, like me, you haven't really fit in and you've had to find your own path to make in life? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear. So quote 3, Coach Wim says this of Naomi when she pulls out of a tournament. No other tennis player was willing to do it. She was the one that took it upon herself and stood up. She stopped the game of tennis for a day, which had never been done in history. I found this part of episode 3 to be so sobering, and it really speaks to who Naomi is and how she wants to be showing up in the world. As Wim noted, all the other athletes who were pausing play at this time were doing it as a team, collectively. And Naomi had to decide for herself to stand by herself and say, no, I'm not going to play. And she made a decision to stand on her own, alone, and do something that had never been done in the sport of tennis before on behalf of others. So to this, how Naomi is choosing to show up in the world, her dad says this: when it comes to the masks, for me, it feels like she's standing up for me. Hearing her dad say this, and as a parent myself, my heart just welled up with pride for her. And I feel like it shows you just how complex Naomi is and how complex we all are, really. Because she's not just a tennis player, she's a Japanese-Haitian daughter, sister, immigrant living in America. She's a designer, an incredible tennis player. She's someone who's learning and growing and figuring out how she wants to show up in the world right now. She's learning to lean into how to authentically show up as Naomi Osaka in all that she does and everywhere that she goes. For most of us, we fragment our lives. We're one person at home, or a different person at work. We're yet another person maybe with our friends or other groups that we're a part of. But this part of episode 3 asks us, who are you when you show up authentically everywhere you go? Who is that person? Who are you when you bring your whole self with you everywhere you go, to everything that you do? I think we're all better off when we ask that question, not only of ourselves, but also of the spaces that we create around us. Because hopefully the spaces that we create around us are ones where everyone feels like they can show up authentically as their whole self. But here's what I know to be true. A lot of people feel like they do have to check part of themselves at the front door of their office, the front door of a church, the front door of a club, that they actually can't authentically be 100% themselves when they show up in the world. So we really are all better off when we start to grapple with these questions too. Okay, so number 5, Naomi says this: I feel like the platform I have right now is something that I used to take for granted, and for me, I feel like I should be using it for something. This is so good. Yes, Naomi has a massive global platform. Obviously, we're all watching this documentary on Netflix. But you and I, we have our own platforms as well. And I can say for myself that I've definitely taken my platform for granted, but I too want to be doing something with mine. What about you? We all have a choice about how we use our platforms, and we can just kind of do whatever with them and nothing really, or we can be intentional about how we're using them. Okay, so episode 3, what did I think about it? Well, it starts with her modeling designer clothes, and then we see Naomi wrestling with how she wants to show up in the world in the wake of George Floyd's murder. And then it ends with her family spending time and visiting Haiti. This was actually kind of an emotional episode for me personally. George Floyd was killed 8 miles from where I live, where I'm sitting right now. And it just brought up a flood of kind of emotions and thoughts and memories, especially from this last year, and Ahmaud Arbery and Breonna Taylor and George Floyd's murders. And it really made me think about and want to think about how I show up in the world and how I use my platform. So episode 3, I really loved it. I thought it really invited all of us to think about our platforms and how we want to show up in the world and the path that we want our lives to take. So the series as a whole, in episode 1, we see Naomi really starting to wrestle with who is she if she isn't this all-star tennis player, and if she doesn't align and tie her worth and value into winning at tennis. And then in episode 2, we see her starting to grapple with, gosh, what does it mean to succeed in life, and what is a successful life, and what does it mean for our lives to matter? And then in episode 3, we see her like grappling with this tension of maintaining this certain image, but wanting to show up differently in the world and being nervous and scared to do so, and how to do that well. So I thought this series was done really well. I absolutely loved it. So, what about you? What did you think of episode 3? What did you think of the whole series? Did you like it? I mean, I loved it, but I want to know if you liked it. Let me know in the comments below. And I think the last thing I'll say is that this episode 3, particularly reminded me of my favorite Robert Frost poem. And at the very end, he says, "And I took the path less traveled by, and that has made all the difference." Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.